So page 13 in the notes, right? And page 9 in the workbook. So pink sheet, workbook, and the notes, okay? If you go to page 13 in the notes, I just wanted to talk about, obviously we know that there's a tenant and a homeowner's insurance, but there's right here, kind of middle of the page, you have comprehensive or broad insurance, right? Standard versus comprehensive. You see that? I will just have a little note here. Standard comprehensive. Just have that there. I'll tell you the main difference between the two. I don't think there's necessarily a consensus on it exactly what the main difference is. But standard, let me just see here. Comprehensive is like a blanket coverage. And in a sense, it will cover named and unnamed. Unnamed, is that two N's? Unnamed? I don't think so. Okay. Blanket coverage, named and unnamed perils. What's perils? Perils are just your stuff, right? So comprehensive will kind of cover everything. You don't have to necessarily state it or tell them or disclose it, right? Versus standard is only named perils. Okay, so for example, let's say somebody breaks in and they steal your diamond collection. Yeah. What's that? It has two ends? Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyways, two ends. Is that Google telling us that? Yeah, Google tells us it's two ends. So standard is only named perils or named items. Comprehensive is basically if you tell them, you know, they stole my diamond collection. I haven't been part of a claim, so my gut feeling tells me that you better have pictures of your stuff. Like if you have expensive stuff, let's say you have a coin collection, right, or something that is worth a lot of money that can easily be, you know, taken. I would have pictures, I would have receipts, all of that. I would have that scanned in a safe place because they might ask you for it, right? It's like, oh, you had a, you know, $200,000 diamond collection. Like where's some evidence, right, that you actually owned it? So they're gonna be pretty. So if you want a standard policy, you're gonna have to tell them about it, name it. You're gonna have to tell them like these are some of the very valuable things that I own. Comprehensive is a bit more just you don't worry about it, it'll just cover you, and it costs more. This costs more than standard. The name standard kind of tells you that, right? Comprehensive, it depends on the policy. I've heard that if you bought a very expensive flat screen TV, I didn't know the $3,000 ones, to bring them down to the basement and it falls, it cracks. I heard that comprehensive will cover that as well. Obviously, you're gonna have to pay what when you make a claim? Starts with a D, deductible. It's not a freebie. It's not like, oh, I'm just gonna claim it, right? Two things are gonna happen. You're gonna pay the deductible, and your insurance is gonna go up the year after and so it's gonna probably stay up for a while. So it's almost like you're just not paying it all up front, but you are paying for a lot of it. So think about it before you make a claim. Okay. Okay. That's all I wanted to add to this part. So this was on page 13, and so maybe what I will do is I will highlight that part so that it kind of sticks out, and then talk about them here separately on page 13. Then we're going to do some calculations again. Okay, we need to remember how to calculate that. How do we come up with it? Because I will be quite creative in coming up with the questions. I will change the value, the deductible, where you live. Is it going to go over the max, under the max, stuff like that. Okay. All right. So let's go to, we're going to skip and go to page 15. And I'll just walk you through. I already gave you the answers to the first three here. So I'm gonna quickly go over those, and then I will send you to that worksheet and the workbook. Okay. So I kind of walk you through what is the annual cost or the annual premium. Don't let that throw you off to insure an apartment. That's important. How much you want insurance for? 120 grand. You want comprehensive. You want $500 deductible before tax. So everything is kind of provided. So you need to, because it says apartment, you're going to go take that tenant insurance policy, and you should realize right away that what's up with the coverage amount. It's going over the 120 grand. It's going past the maximum here of 75 grand. Okay, so that's something you need to figure out right away. So I will do that here. Overage is going to be 120,000 minus 75,000. And that is 45,000, right? The space is not really great here, but I know that I'm going to need this number here. And the formulas are all on page 14. So here we go. Yeah, I should have given you a lot more space here. I apologize for that. But it says table rate. The formula calls for table rate. So I want comprehensive. So I'm going to comprehensive all the way down to 454. And I need to pay extra for what I'm over, $550 per $1,000 for each additional $1,000. So you grab the 454. Watch what I'm going to do now. This is slightly different than how I showed it to you on Friday. I grab the 550 right away and put it over 1,000, like that. And then I take my overage, the 45 grand, and multiply it by it. Okay. And I want a $500 deductible. So the times 1.10 I don't do. And I also don't need to add taxes, so I don't need to worry about the times 1.07. If you're like, what is he talking about? Then you weren't here on Friday. You need to look up the lesson, right? I can't teach it all again. Okay. So I will just calculate this. 454 stays plus, we have that 550 there, right? So you can go 5.5 divided by 1,000, and then you multiply that by 45,000. And that's 247.50. Now you got to add that up. Oops. And that gives you 701.50 as the key already told you. One more, or at least one more. Okay. The next question, what's the annual cost to insure a home? Is a home insurance, right? Home for this much in area 2. So basically almost every other word is being highlighted, right? I want home insurance, the coverage I need, the area I'm living. I want standard, $500 deductible after tax. And most questions are going to be like that. They're just going to be like, I'm going to give you everything right, one after the other. So we go insurance. Let's go to that table now, which is a lot scarier. It's a lot bigger, but it's going to be narrowed down in a bit. So home insurance, I need this homeowner's insurance table. 120,000, I'm not going to be over, right? Like I know this table goes all the way to 200,000, so you kind of want to make a mark there, right? 120 is right there. And which area am I in? I'm in area 2, and I want standard, right? No, was it standard? Yeah. So area 2, standard, right? You're narrowing it down. Area 2, standard, and you go down, 309. Make it quick, okay? 309. 309, that's the number I need to get from the table. So I'm going to bring that in here. 309. I don't need to worry about the square brackets, right? Let me just show you one time here real quick. The square bracket, this long formula here, is only if you go over, right, past the max, and you don't in this case. So all you need to do is grab that. And then the last little piece here, $500 deductible. I don't need to multiply this by 1.10, right? I'm just going to do that. But taxes, I do need to add taxes, which is only 7% to this premium. And that's what gives you your 309, not 30.9, sorry there, 309. So you multiply 309 by 1.07, and that's 330.63. Okay, as the key indicated. So how about this? When you read the $500 deductible at the end and the tax, they determine whether or not you're going to have to multiply by 1.10 and then by 1.07, right? So that you should leave until the end. Focus on everything else. There's you're insuring a home in area 3 for $215,000. That's going to go over right there. You want a comprehensive $500 deductible after tax. So let's start our journey. Insurance. We know we go over, so we need to use this formula. How much are we over by? I'm just going to do this on the side here. It's very easy to do. In this case, we're over by $15,000. So I'm going to underline that. Grab my table. I'm in area 3, and I went with comprehensive. So area 3 comprehensive, all the way down, $799. And then I also need to grab, right, $799. I also need to grab the $391. I need these two. So $799 plus $391. You need to put that over 1,000, right? You can't just put $391 in there. And you're gonna pay this rate for the 15 grand you're over. It does say after tax, so we need to go times 1.07, right? Because of this. The $500 deductible, this is a $500 deductible in here. Okay, this whole thing would actually indeed give you a $500 deductible policy. Okay, and so you have to figure out the square brackets first. This in particular. So 3.91 divided by 1,000. Right, you go like that, times 15,000. That's 5865 times 1.07. I will do one more where I add that up. That's 857.65 times 1.07. Do it step by step, right? And that's 917.69. So there are your three examples back to back, okay? If you want to check the rest, I posted that key last week already, page 15 I called it, so you can practice more. I will give you the key to this. Here it is if you want it. Question 6 is 667.70. So if you want to write that down, right, that's what you're supposed to get there. And for question 7, it's 1,113.44. And question 8, I can give you that A part, which is 468.45. Now, you have a choice. You can either work on these three here to get you ready for that AC that's upcoming, or if you're done that already, you can go to page 9 in the workbook, right? It's called Home and Tenant Insurance Practice Questions. You can work on that, and I will post the key. I will look it up and post the key for that as well. The only thing I don't like about page 9 is I don't have taxes there. None of them will ask you to add taxes, but you should be able to, huh? Why not? That's fine, right? My key will show you only before tax, so if that number is right, then your after tax should be right as well. Yeah. Okay, so let's say we'll try 15 minutes, and then we'll do the AC, and I want to start land transfer tax. So all of that updated. I will probably mention it a couple of times leading up to it, but on Friday we're writing a quiz, and then the week after, which is a short week, right? Because May Long is this weekend, this upcoming weekend, we'll write our test that week. So that'll be it for home finance. Obviously not it, right? Like we're going to continue seeing and reviewing it as we move to our final assessment. All right. Pen or marker, you got to be honest. That's the only way it works. If you're scoring 100%, but your tests are not, then I'm questioning your final answers, okay? Vivian is renting an apartment, so there it is. That's tenant insurance. So all you can insure is your belongings, right? That's the main difference between tenant and home insurance. Tenant is just your belongings. Home insurance is belongings and the building itself. So this is how much it's worth. You want comprehensive, $500 deductible, and it's supposed to be before tax. So you go get your tenant insurance, 40 grand, comprehensive, right? So that's $269. That's all it is in this case. There's no times 1.10. Brian, would you mind turning off the lights? There's no times 1.10. There's no. This is it. So 269, one mark. It's either you get it or you don't. Okay, so there's nothing in between. Kim J. Oh, that's a half deduction if you don't put a dollar sign. You don't need the 2 zeros after because it's a whole amount, but you do need the dollar sign. Yes. George lives in an apartment. There it is again. So the stuff is worth 100 grand. Standard insurance $500 deductible, and you want before tax. So you're over here. So you need to go get that, the max under standard, which is 359, and then write down the 450. Right, so 359 plus 450 for every $1,000 you're over. How much are you over by? $25,000. So you don't multiply that by 1.10 because you want to stay with a $500 deductible. You do not multiply it by 1.07 because you're not adding taxes. So that's 359 plus this gives you 112.5. And when you add that up, you get 471.50. And I'm going to change the marks here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I'm going to change the mark. So this 359 is worth 1 mark. The 450 is worth 1 mark. Getting the correct overage is also worth 1 mark. So 111. And then I'll give you 1 more mark for actually calculating the correct final answer. So this is going to be worth 4 marks, not 2 points. It's worth 4 marks. It just makes it easier to see what you got there. Okay, next, Emma purchased a home value for a home, right? We're talking home, 195. That's below the max in Winnipeg. Standard, $200 deductible. Right? That's what that tells us. And before tax, so you don't need to worry about the 1.07. We're not over, so I can just go insurance, go get that 195,000 coverage, right? So we're in Winnipeg, standard, right? Winnipeg, standard, 195, that's 678 right there. So you write that 678 down, you multiply that by 1.10, and that gives you 745.80. So 1 mark for the 678 and 1 mark for coming up with the 745 because that involves you multiplying by 1.10. So that one stays 2 marks. And make sure you have a dollar sign and make sure it's 80, not just 0.8, because that is technically half a mark deduction. Okay. So now another home, area 4, $425,000 insurance and comprehensive, $500 deductible. We want it after tax, so that tells us we need to multiply by 1.07 at some point at the end. So we're over. And most of the time the overage is easy to do in your head, right? But let's go and find what it is, what that table rate is. So area 4, comprehensive, and you got to go all the way to the max, so that's 1063, and the 519, we remember that as well, right? So 1063 plus 519 over 1,000, right? So you get 1 mark for this, 1 mark for that, and another mark for coming up with how much you're over, and that'd be 225,000, right? You would get a mark for that. And then you would tack on 1.07 at the end. No marks for that just yet. You're going to get it in a bit here. So 1063 plus, when you multiply this, it's a pretty big number. You were probably surprised and you were double checking, right? But it's an extra over $1,000 to ensure that overage, right? Times 1.07, that gets you 2230.75 times 1.07, which is a grand total of 2,386.90. So you would get 1, 2, 3, and another one for finding that final answer. So that'd be 4 as well. 4 marks for that one. So this page is worth 4, 4, 8, 10, 11. This page is worth 11 marks. Got it? Backside. So this is all like understanding types of questions, which let's say on a test you have 10 of those. 10 out of 40, that's 25%, right? Like 10 marks worth of do you understand, right? It probably won't be as much, it will probably more like 20%, but so two factors would be your deductible, right? Is it a 200 versus a $500 deductible? That will definitely affect your premium. Location. Think of the pink sheet, right? Depending on where you live, it's going to affect your insurance. So 4 areas, right? And if I asked you to explain, then you would have to just say, like, depending on how close you are to a fire hall or a fire hydrant, all of that does make a difference. So location, what else? Claim history. Yeah. That's different, but that's also good. Yeah. Standard versus comprehensive. If you put that down, I would definitely honor that, whether you pick standard or comprehensive. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Homeowner, yeah, versus tenant. And if I asked you why, as long as you can back that, right? Perfect. Do you have discounts? Do you have an alarm? Is it monitored? You get a discount for just having an alarm system. You get a bigger discount if it's monitored. So it almost pays to have it monitored sometimes because you get like 15% off your insurance, 10 to 15 for having a monitored alarm system. Okay. There's more, but we'll just two is all you needed here. Standard versus comprehensive. Coverage amount, yes. Coverage amount. So exactly, like how much is your house worth? That will definitely affect it. The more whether or not you have a fireplace, all of that will make a dent. Okay, so now basically you have another scenario where you have a comprehensive coverage with a $200 deductible. I was hoping that would be enough. She would like to reduce her annual insurance rate or premium. State and explain one way she can achieve this. Be specific. So one thing that you could say, she could change. She could switch to a standard policy. So instead of comprehensive, go to standard, right? If you go standard, you pay 10% less according to our calculations here. That's one way. The other is your deductible. She could increase her deductible to $500 instead. Don't tell me she could reduce the price of her house. You can't do that, right? You don't have that much power. Go find a cheaper home. Don't do that, right? It's just like based on what you have, what can you do right there at the store, not at the store, at the insurance broker to change it? Yeah. Did you have a question, Lawrence? Did you?
No.
Did you write? You can.
I wrote the deductible.
Okay.